Breaking news! The Denver Broncos have taken a huge hit before the NFL free agency even started. Just when fans were hoping for a major roster shakeup, one of the team's top targets was taken off the board before they even had a chance to make a move. We need to talk about some important stuff, and I'll tell you all about it. But first, make sure you've hit the like button if you're a true Denver Broncos fan. If possible, comment something like this: "Go Broncos! Let's go to the Super Bowl!" Now, pay attention to this. Linebacker Nick Bolton, who had been touted as a potential big addition for Denver, has officially re-signed with the Kansas City Chiefs on a 3-year, $45 million deal. And just like that, a major upgrade to the Broncos' inside linebacker unit is no longer an option. For a team that was already dealing with a weak linebacker group, this isn't the kind of news fans wanted to hear. Denver was reportedly eyeing Bolton and Zach Bond, another name linked to its free agency plans. But with Bond also staying, the Broncos have now lost two of their top defensive options before the market has even officially opened. It's a frustrating situation and exposes the harsh reality of today's NFL. Teams with salary cap flexibility are keeping their best players instead of letting them test free agency. In the past, teams that won championships or had star quarterbacks would struggle to keep all their top talent due to salary cap restrictions. But with the cap ballooning to nearly $300 million, that dynamic has completely changed. Teams like the Chiefs can now afford to retain key players like Bolton without having to make difficult financial sacrifices elsewhere. For the Broncos, that means looking elsewhere to address a position that is in desperate need of reinforcement. Let's be real, the interior linebacker situation in Denver isn't great. Cody Barton is a free agent, Alex Singleton is on the wrong side of 30 and coming off a torn ACL, and the overall depth is thin. There was even speculation that the Broncos might overhaul the position entirely, but the available free agent options are quickly drying up. Unlike recent years, where high-profile names were hitting the market, this free agency class is lacking star power. The biggest names, Levante David, Bobby Wagner, and even Dre Greenlaw, never made it to free agency, opting instead to re-sign with their current teams. So where does that leave Denver? Right now, the remaining free agent linebacker pool isn't exactly stacked. The Broncos could pivot to guys like Jermaine Sherwood, Willie Gay, Isaiah Simmons, Devin Bush, or Robert Spillane. But let's be honest, none of those names scream game changer. At best, they're solid rotational pieces or short-term fixes, but not the kind of players who instantly transform a defense. If Denver still wants to make a significant move at linebacker, the best bet might not be free agency at all, it might be the trade market. One name to keep an eye on? Jermaine Pratt from the Cincinnati Bengals. Pratt has reportedly requested a trade, and while inside linebackers don't generate the same buzz as edge rushers or cornerbacks, he's an intriguing option. If the Broncos aren't thrilled with the remaining free agents and don't want to overpay for mediocrity, trading for Pratt could be a smarter way to fill the gap. Of course, there's also the possibility of simply bringing back Cody Barton and rolling with a Barton-Singleton combo again in 2024. Sure, it's not flashy, and it won't make headlines, but given the current market, it might be the best realistic option. Barton stepped up when injuries hit last season, and while he's not a superstar, he proved he can be a serviceable starter. If Singleton's rehab is on track, keeping that duo together could at least provide some stability. The Broncos clearly wanted to make a move at linebacker this offseason, but so far, every door they've knocked on has been shut before they could walk through it. Now, they're left with a choice: take a swing on a remaining free agent, explore the trade market, or run it back with their current guys. None of those options are as exciting as signing someone like Nick Bolton, but at this point, Denver doesn't have much of a choice. What do you think, Broncos fans? Should the team make a trade for a linebacker, take a chance on a free agent, or stick with Barton and Singleton? Let me know in the comments, because with free agency about to kick off, things are about to get interesting in Denver. One thing is clear: the Broncos cannot afford to sit on their hands. This offseason was supposed to be about making key improvements, especially on defense, and missing out on top targets before free agency even officially began puts them in a tough position. The linebacker market is thinning by the minute, and waiting too long could mean Denver ends up with nothing but scraps. The challenge now is finding a move that actually makes sense. Overpaying for a second-tier free agent isn't ideal, and while a trade sounds appealing, it comes with its own risks. Would the Broncos really be willing to part with valuable draft capital for a linebacker like Jermaine Pratt? And if they do, what kind of contract would he demand in return? These are the questions Denver's front office has to wrestle with in the coming days. One scenario that's gaining traction among insiders is the idea that the Broncos may shift their focus to the draft. With free agency looking uninspiring, could Denver use one of their early picks on an inside linebacker instead? This draft class doesn't have a ton of high-end talent at the position, but there are some intriguing prospects who could develop into starters. Someone like a Jaron Cooper from Texas A&M or Junior Colson from Michigan could be a solid addition, but relying on a rookie to step in and contribute immediately is always a gamble. Another wild card in this situation is Sean Payton's approach. Payton has been very clear that linebacker and safety were two areas the team wanted to address in free agency, but with the way things are unfolding, he may have to pivot. There's also a growing belief that if Denver doesn't find the right linebacker, they might make a bigger move at safety instead. The free agent safety market isn't deep, but there are still a few names out there who could be interesting fits. Could someone like Jordan Whitehead or Julian Blackmon become a surprise addition to bolster the defense in a different way? But let's be real, this isn't the offseason Broncos fans were hoping for. Missing out on Nick Bolton and Zach Bond stings, and it's frustrating to watch other teams lock up talent while Denver is left scrambling for a backup plan. The reality is that the Broncos were never going to be major spenders in free agency this year. With limited cap space and a roster that still has multiple needs, they were always going to have to be strategic. But no one expected them to strike out this quickly, and now the pressure is on to make something happen. And that brings us to the elephant in the room. Could all of this be a sign that Denver is preparing for a bigger move down the road? There's a theory floating around that the Broncos might be hesitant to spend now because they're saving cap space for something bigger. Could they be planning to make a splashy trade for a star player later in the offseason? Maybe even someone at a different position? It's all speculation at this point, but if Denver continues to sit back while other teams are making moves, it's fair to wonder if there's a long-term strategy we're not seeing yet. In the end, Broncos fans have every right to be frustrated. Free agency hasn't even officially begun, and already, some of the team's biggest targets are off the board. The linebacker situation remains a mess, and there's no obvious solution in sight. The front office has work to do, and how they respond in the coming days will tell us a lot about their plan for 2024. So now it's your turn. What should the Broncos do? Should they take a chance on a remaining free agent, explore the trade market, or roll with Barton and Singleton for another season? Or do you think they're cooking up something bigger behind the scenes? Let me know in the comments, because this offseason is far from over, and there's still a lot left to unfold. The Broncos offseason just took an unexpected hit, and now they're left scrambling for answers. Missing out on Nick Bolton and Zach Bond before free agency even started was a brutal blow, leaving their linebacker situation uncertain. With Cody Barton a free agent and Alex Singleton recovering from an ACL tear, Denver must decide, take a chance on a second-tier free agent, explore a trade, or run it back with what they have. The remaining free agent options aren't game changers, and while a trade for Jermaine Pratt could be interesting, it comes at a cost. Could Denver pivot to the draft instead? Or is there a bigger move brewing behind the scenes? The pressure is on, and fans are eager for answers. What do you think? Should the Broncos make a bold move or play it safe? Let me know in the comments, because this offseason is just getting started.